When we start to establish the geographic location of processors, or just agribusiness in general, we often face a trade-off. And that trade-off is between the economies of plant size and then the assembly costs. Economies of size basically states that the larger you get, the cost per unit falls. So as that cost per unit falls, that business is actually running more efficiently on the actual processing side. But as you grow larger, you must now travel further to get all of your inputs. And you often have to travel further to get to all of your customers as well. Rather than being in one area that services a small area, you can now grow your plant larger and can service a larger area, but now you must cover that in transportation costs. So what we see is, we find it's a trade-off because the larger you get, the more economies of size you face, and the less it costs to produce that good. But at the same token, now you must go to further reaching places and acquire more goods from further away, so that assembly cost will begin to rise. And that assembly cost is often referred to as transportation or just acquiring all of those goods. So what we see on this graph over here is a visual representation of what we just talked about right here. And then on this blue line, we're seeing the economies of size. We're saying that the average cost per unit begins to fall as we produce more. As that plant gets larger, the cost actually falls. On the other side, we see that transportation begins to rise the larger we get, because we must go to further away places to get those goods. So as we begin to travel more, our transportation costs increase. So what we wind up seeing is that the geographical location is often in a place where we're trying to minimize our total average cost. So at this point right here, so we start to give up some transportation, less cost in transportation, but also we're giving up less cost in the economies of size and kind of meeting in the middle. We wind up facing this trade-off between the economies of size and the transportation cost the larger a plant gets, and that will often dictate the size of that plant and where that plant is actually going to be located.